Are you hoping to get picky eaters to eat their dinner? I'm Nicolene Peck, and I teach all about parenting, relationships, family communication, and in this video we're going to be talking about how to get those children to eat. In this video, I'm going to be talking about mistakes that parents often make when they're trying to get their children to eat dinner. And we're going to talk about some things that you can do to make sure that eating dinner doesn't become such a chore for you and for them. There are two main mistakes that people make when they are trying to get their children to eat dinner. Now, I know that we all worry about this. We don't want them grumpy. We don't want them asking for food at bedtime. We want to have this nice structured flow and that their blood sugar stays good the whole day and the whole night. And this is why eating food is so important. But quite frankly, children get bored of eating food. They don't think that it's very fun. And when they get bored, they just decide they want to move on to something else, or they start talking about something else, and then it becomes very difficult for them, especially the smaller that they are. What parents often resort to is, number one, power struggling, saying you have to eat this. You cannot leave the table until this is completely gone. I know my parents tried this on me. So I remember Brussels sprouts. Mom boiled the Brussels sprouts, which is probably not the very best way to present Brussels sprouts to a child the first time. And I sat there and I looked at those little balls that did not smell so good, and I just couldn't do it. They scared me. I was probably 7 years old. And I remember Mom cleared my plate from the dinner table and I thought, oh good, it's all over. I got up to go and she said, sit down. So I sat down. And she took my Brussels sprouts and she put them on a smaller plate. And she sat them right in front of me. And here's my head about table height. And she said, you are not leaving this table until you eat every one of those Brussels sprouts. Immediately the anxiety set in. Now the Brussels sprouts were scarier than they ever were before. And I thought to myself, how long can I sit here before she won't know if I try to go away? So I sat there and I sat there. They got colder and colder. And I tried to sneak off the chair and she said, nope, you get right back there. You eat those Brussels sprouts. So finally, I ate my 3 Brussels sprouts while holding my nose because I could not stand the taste of them. So what I learned was they would power struggle with me and that ultimately I would have to do what they wanted, at least at this time while I was younger, and that they were going to win no matter what. So I had to give in. But here's the thing, they did not develop a love of making good choices with food. They instead instilled fear in me that I had to comply. Otherwise, they would fight with me. Now I know Mom did not want that fight. I'm a parent. I've raised many children now, and I know parents don't want to fight with their children about food, but there gets to be a point where they're so worried about the health of the child or the future hours or the night that's coming with the child that the parent anxiety actually leads to power struggling. And that's what my parents were doing. The second mistake that people often make is bribing. So they'll say, if you eat your Brussels sprouts or your broccoli, then you get to have this special treat afterward, or you get to have dessert afterward. And a bribing situation happens when a person is already whining or complaining, and then the person offers something special if they stop whining or complaining, or they choose to comply, which is what the parent wants them to do. If you are bribing your children will soon develop entitlement with their eating and oftentimes other behaviors. They will expect rewards, synthetic rewards given from you if they ever have to do anything hard. This is bad for the whole family dynamic, because now everything is going to be negotiating and trying to get more out of you just to do little things like little chores and such. And oftentimes I've noticed in families, the bribing culture starts with the food. I've got 4 tips for you that are going to help you navigate this picky eating stage that your child might be going through. But before I get to those, click that subscribe button now. There are so many videos on this channel about things related to parenting and helping your child self-govern themselves. You are not going to want to miss. And don't forget to also click that notification bell so that you will get informed when important videos come up that you're going to like next. Tip number 1, a person has to eat something 16 times before they will decide that they might like it. 16 times. That's a lot of times. My parents gave me Brussels sprouts once, and then I decided no more Brussels sprouts. You know what? My mom never bought Brussels sprouts again for me. Maybe when I was at school, she was at home serving herself up Brussels sprouts for lunch, but I never saw them again. And I think it's because she didn't want the fight again. But if she had understood how my palate would be refined, she would have fed me those Brussels sprouts many, many times. Wise parents have recognized that giving children kid-friendly foods laced with sugar, salt, foods that are puffy that you hardly have to swallow, all these convenient snacks actually destroy the palate of a child so that they can't appreciate real food, the finer foods. I remember years ago I read an article that said, a person will not choose to become a gourmet if they've been raised on a steady diet of hamburgers and French fries. This is totally true. It makes sense. And why, the article said? Because the person was raised on something less. Now, this principle does not just apply to food, but it can be broadly applied to all of the ways that we communicate and establish the culture in our home. But today we actually are talking about food. Let's remember that we have to train our child to like each new thing. They may not like it at first. We don't have to take that personally. Let's just get ourselves to time 16. And if we're not perfect by time 16, maybe go to time 21. Tip number 2 is pick one food. Now, what does that mean? In our family, I noticed that the children would go through these picky phases. So when I had everyone together, I said, we are going to do something as a family. Each person in the family is going to pick one food that you do not like and that you never want to have to eat. And when you have told me that one food, then for the rest of your life, I will never make you eat that one food. If I serve it for dinner, you can say no thank you and not have to eat it. But every other thing that is served for a meal, no matter where we are in the world, you have to try it. And you have to take the amount of bites for the age you are, at least, if not eat the whole thing. So that was the rule. If I'm 4, I have to take at least 4 bites of everything that is served to me. And then afterward, if I happen to be hungry again later, Mom might serve me some bread or a carrot or some water and an apple, something that might be nutritional, but that is what I will get later if I am able to eat some of every bit on my plate. So what were the one things that were chosen? I had one child who said beets. I do not like beets. Now, I'm a gardener. I like to grow things, and I love beets. So I served beets on a regular basis, and this one child did not have to eat beets. One of my other children started thinking, and they thought, I don't know if I know the worst food out there. And they said, Mom, what's your number one thing? And I said, sardines. I hate sardines. And they said, why? And I explained sardines, and then they said, I pick sardines, which actually wasn't very smart because I'm never going to serve sardines, but they said that was their one thing. And this particular child, I have to tell you, actually really developed their palate. There were many things at the time that they decided they didn't like, but then they just buckled down and started trying some of everything. This also worked pretty good for my husband, who happened to be a picky eater when he came into my family too. Tip number 3, and this is probably my favorite tip. Teach them a skill called following instructions. So I teach skills for parents. These are skills based on principles of self-government. And the number one most important skill for a child to be able to do in order for a parent to actually parent that child is to follow instructions. There are 5 steps to following an instruction. You look at the person, keep a calm face, voice, and body, say okay or ask to disagree appropriately, do the task immediately, and then check back. Now, this can apply to any instruction you give your child, but in this context, it certainly can apply to food. So if you've taught your child ahead of time, this is how you follow an instruction, and this is how I will correct it every time that you don't follow an instruction. Those are other skills you need to know too, and I teach those things in my Teaching Self-Government Parenting course. But those skills are vital to tell the children so that they know they can predict ahead of time how will mom and dad handle this if I don't follow the instructions. So once you teach them this skill, then you can pre-teach them right before a meal and say, we're going to have dinner now. Now remember, when we serve you dinner, that is an instruction. All of the food that is on that plate, which hopefully you've done good on making proportions that are manageable for the children, because if they're too big of proportions, the children actually get overwhelmed and they can't do it. So you say, all of the food that's on that plate that's served for you is an instruction. So remember, you need to look at the food or the situation. You need to say, okay, I'm going to eat this. Or you can always disagree appropriately, which is another skill that we teach the children. And then you eat the food, and then afterward you say, Mom, I'm done with my food. May I be excused from the table? So that's the check back that happens right then. Now, if they choose not to eat the food, they are not following instructions. I'm not going to make them sit there all night long, but I will do a correction and they will earn a negative consequence. And in our family, we have set negative consequences that happen every time they don't follow instructions. They know exactly how things are going to play out, and they have to be willing to accept it every time. And in our family, they often get the opportunity to do an extra chore. Tip number 4, don't just have negative consequences, but be sure to plan out positive consequences too. Positive consequences can be very motivating for people, and they will make it so that you don't fall into the bribery trap. So, what is a positive consequence? Maybe it's dessert. Maybe it is a treat. Maybe you're going to be watching a special show after dinner. Maybe you're going to be playing a game or reading a story. Or maybe there'll be a tally mark on the fridge, something they're keeping track of for when they follow instructions and do hard things. Because of course, if we're going to train strong, emotionally strong people in this day and age, we absolutely have to teach them that doing hard things is good, not bad. So before it's dinner time, your family would have a family meeting. And in that family meeting, you will be discussing how you will handle dinner or some of the issues the family's facing with dinner or people not eating their food. Or maybe you're having just a personal meeting with one child because that one child is the person who's having a problem. At that point, you will establish a positive consequence for if they choose to eat dinner each night. Maybe it will be for the period of a week or the period of 2 weeks. You don't have to do it indefinitely. Usually after about 2 to 3 weeks of training, a person does not need a positive consequence any longer. So then, after they eat their food, you'll do a praise and tell them what their positive consequences that they've earned. When they can learn cause and effect and see that good equals good and bad equals bad, and that they had the control within themselves in order to make that choice toward getting the result that they wanted, then that takes them one step closer to better nutrition, but also one step closer to self-mastery. Well, we've got us on a good track for handling our eating problems, but there are so many more things that we could talk about and that I could help you with your own parenting and self-government. So if you've enjoyed this video, I'm pretty sure you'll love the next video, which is how to stop being a passive parent. Click on that link now and I'll see you there.